Merry meet and welcome to Jupiter's Radiance. I'm Taylor and today we're getting started with our second week of April, and a lot of this is going to be about like continuing on our path, continuing to prepare certain steps because we're in spring, so we're taking some action, but we're also taking a lot of preparation steps still. Now that we're officially out of the planning phase, we're seeing a lot more come into fruition and seeing it within reality. So for that, we have what I'm calling our Prepare Your Arrow spread. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so Prepare Your Arrow spread, or Nock Your Arrow if you prefer that one, is to support in acknowledging the efforts that you've made so far towards your goal, as well as to help you gain knowledge for completing that goal. So this can be either a bigger project or this can be a small step that you're working on and just looking into that. So you can make it as big or as small as you need it to be and essentially break it down into what you need to know, as well as helping you recognize the efforts that you've already put in so that you aren't doubling back or discounting what you've already put in. So hopefully you'll be able to see it. This is meant to be our bow, and then this is our arrow going forward. So this card does play into both, and we'll talk a little bit more about how it does so. Getting started, we have our number one card. This is going to be about what you already know. 2 is going to be about your goal. 3 is going to be, this one, is going to be about what you've already done towards your goal. And then we go to 4, so like kind of like when you have your arrow ready, right? So 4 is going to be about like what do you need to know, and then what you need to do, like bringing you to your goal. And then finally 6 is going to be where it leads, okay? So hopefully that makes sense and you're able to see how it is an arrow just kind of standing. We're not really shooting it forward yet, but we're kind of just standing in preparation, if you will. And let's go ahead and get started with our collective reading and just kind of see exactly how we are working towards our goals together. And so for what we already know, we have self-respect. So I love that this is coming forward for what we already know, because this is ensuring you that the work that you have done regarding that is valid. You were able to kind of take this as a confirmation for yourself regarding that good emotional health that you have been building inside. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at what our goal is. And so we have worthiness. So directly correlates, makes a lot of sense why we would already have built up our knowledge around what self-respect is and what it looks like to us to bring us into worthiness, because our goal is around feeling worthiness. So self-respect is a lot about kind of like a mental decision, I feel, while worthiness is going to be more about that emotional state that we're living in. And so now what have you already done? We have maturity. So this is letting you know, again, you have put in some really good work. You've really laid down like the foundations, but you also have allowed yourself to see a little bit more objectively. You've allowed your experiences to help shape a little bit more about what worthiness actually means to you. And because you've also developed self-respect, it's not in a way to where you are like, oh, because of this I don't deserve worthiness, but instead the opposite, that you're using and reflecting on moments where you have gained maturity and you're like, oh, I'm gonna put this in my toolbox for supporting me in recognizing my worthiness. Now continuing into what we need to know further, we have compatibility. So what is interesting about this, because this is our true love thing, so this is letting me know this probably is going to be a lot around not just like worthiness in the world, but worthiness within our relationships, and take it for however you need to. This could be within a parent-child relationship, this could be within a friendship, this could be within a romantic relationship. So, oh, it could also be a work relationship is something that came through, so that definitely can resonate for someone. So take this and apply it to your situation how you need to, or do your own spread for yourself. That's what these are here for. Anyways, back to compatibility. So what you need to know. So this is kind of letting you know there is a little bit more observation needed, but also a little bit more critical thinking in that observation. Because compatibility is not just seeing, but it's also kind of putting it next to yourself and being like, oh, does this make sense? For whatever reason, the metaphor that comes forward to me is when cells have to, or cells, not cells, sorry. Whoop. But when elements have to form like covalent or ionic bonds, and there's like 2 different energies within those, one where they end up sharing the same space and one where you end up like gaining where someone is gaining from the other, kind of like a mentorship, if you will, or a teacher, I should say, like a teacher versus a mentor. A mentor tends to stay in your life, and a teacher is typically just like once in a while. So again, take that how you will, but this compatibility, the main message is observing and using that critical thinking to see how it engages with our energy. And this is what we need to know, because we've done a lot of self-work, and so now it's time to see how we're engaging with that external relationships. And so now this is, what do we need to do? This is quite literally an active card in this deck too, the Silver Waterfall. So for this, in this image, I feel like you can see it pretty decently here. There's a woman standing underneath a waterfall here. And the main message for this card is around cleansing and imagining a waterfall passing over yourself and just completely cleansing you. Like, just think about the power of a waterfall. Any problems, any situation that exists within you cannot stand up to that kind of power, which is why it is this imagery for doing that. So this is letting us know, even though you have worked on the self-respect and maturity, the things to continue doing is going to be quite literally a cleansing for yourself, so that you can, the main message coming forward is to remove the negative perceptions that you've held on to for so long. So with removing this, you're then able to step into and really recognize that worthiness, because you're releasing all of the emotions and all of the things that you've done thus far in order to like all of that unworthiness feeling. Essentially, you're cleansing away any like remnants of it in order to step into this worthiness. And so there is a little bit of like believing in yourself is what these energies come forward with, recognizing that you've put in some really good work in order to have that belief, and then just kind of seeing how it works a little bit more versus in your relationships and the people you engage with, and as well as how you're still engaging with yourself internally. Okay, and then finally, what is the outcome? So just where does it lead? And we have boundaries. I love readings like these. So once we have reached our goal of feeling worthy, we are going to be able to recognize our boundaries so much easier. We're also, what I'm hearing is it's going to make us feel better to advocate for our boundaries, but also to flow within them. So sometimes I feel like people can feel like boundaries can be like irritating or aggravating, especially if it feels like we're in a relationship with someone where they make it difficult to have a boundary, because it feels like to them it feels like we're hurting them for having that space. And so this is letting us know, like, hey, you've done all the things, you've done all of the things, you found that worthiness, which means you're worthy to have the boundary that makes sense to you. And I'll say this here too right now, just in case it resonates with anyone now or later, but if anyone is making you doubt yourself, it means that you need firmer boundaries with them. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there. I really like this. I feel like I could keep talking about this forever. But I hope this spread is something that will be beneficial for you as well whenever you are working through your goals in life, as well as to just help remind you about like how far you've come, because I think sometimes we need that little pause. And so even if you just do this little bow to be like, okay, what have I already at least done in regards to my goal, can be great, especially if it's like a bigger goal and you're like, I don't want to think about like all the steps that it takes. Anyways, I'll go ahead and stop rambling. I want to thank you guys again for being here. Don't forget to comment below. Let me know how this is resonating with you, if you tried it out for yourself, and kind of what just happened. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week for our next spread. Blessed be.